Uh, Mr. Gary, we're going to place you in a breakout room with your attorney, but the entire courtroom can hear you, just so you know.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Mr. Abbott, you had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Friesman.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
All right. Should we bring him back?
I guess that would be polite, Your Honor.
Okay.
If nothing else. He's I don't know if he can do it himself or not. Okay.
So, Mr. Austin, do you need to be placed in a breakout room with Mr. Gary?
Yes, please.
All right. So we'll place yourself and Mr. Gary in a breakout room. Mr. Abbott, were you going to come back in to put Friesman on the record, or are you planning on doing that by Zoom?
I guess we could do it on Zoom, Your Honor.
All right.
John, where are you? So I can come talk to you.
I'm in the library.
All right.
Okay.
I'll be down in a minute.
All right. We're on the record docket 23-00457, people of the state of Michigan versus Jonathan Friesman. Parties, please introduce themselves for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Andrew Stevens on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. John Abbott with the Public Defender's Office representing Mr. Friesman. We both appear on video today.
And sir, you are Jonathan Friesman?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you can hear me all right, Mr. Friesman?
Yes.
This is time set for a probable cause conference. Mr. Stevens, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Abbott regarding this case for today's probable cause conference. Based on my conversation with him, it's my understanding this matter will be just left on for exam, which is next week.
All right, is that your understanding, Mr. Abbott?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. He's made an offer of a misdemeanor plea, and I've discussed that with my client, and we're ready to proceed for the preliminary exam. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Friesman, please keep in contact with your attorney, Mr. Abbott. The prelim is set for March 23rd at 9 o'clock, and we'll see you there next week. All right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, anything else for the record docket 23-00457, Mr. Stevens?
Nothing from the people. Thank you.
Mr. Abbott, anything?
Nothing from the defense. Thank you.
All right, you're all set. Thank you for your appearance. We'll see you next week, Mr. Friesman. You're free to leave the Zoom courtroom.
Thank you.
And then we're on the record in a docket 23-0032. That's people of the state of Michigan versus Maria Barrera. This is the time set for PCC, probable cause conference. Mr. Stevens, your appearance for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Andrew Stevens on behalf of the people.
This is the time set for a probable cause conference. Ms. Barrera, it was scheduled for 8:30. It's now 8:55. We did notice that Ms. Barrera was not represented by counsel yet. So we contacted the public defender's office and they indicated that she was in their system, but that's all they pretty much said was she's in their system. She's made application. This is the time set for probable cause conference. We've checked the Zoom courtroom, the physical courtroom, and my court officer has called out or at least checked the hallway, and Ms. Barrera has failed to appear. Mr. Stevens, how do you want to proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this point, the people would request a bench warrant and any bond posted in this matter be forfeited, please.
All right. And since the public defender's office indicated they did not represent her yet, so she does not have representation, but has failed to appear for probable cause conference, I'll issue a bench warrant and bond forfeiture in this matter. Anything else in docket 23-00032, Mr. Stevens?
Thank you, Your Honor. The only thing I would add is I just reviewed our internal file and our system does not indicate that we received any appearance from any attorney on Ms. Barrera's behalf.
Nor did we, and I don't know when I have as part of the register of actions, that she was going to apply to the public defender's office. So we sent message and that they have not issued an appearance yet. So that's all for the record docket 23-0032.
Thank you.
Let me see the file, just so I can see what original bond was. They issued it. Was it? 5,000 PR. There's Barrera.
So, right here. You watch a video? How long you want to wait? Okay, that's, I was gonna say, he runs the court, so I don't, you're gonna have to ask him for the time, but
On Miss Boltman,
yes.
you want a little time there, John?
A little, Your Honor.
You got what? We can put her with Mr. Gary, or you let me know. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Okay. We kind of set aside today for another prelim.
So the 40-pound suitcase that Mr.
Yeah,
Fredo was
there's,
carrying.
yeah. Which one was Mr. Gary? Was that mobile card 6 or mobile card 3? I don't remember.
6.
I think he's done with Mr. Austin. Yeah, well, we'll see. Let's wait. Mr. Austin, are you done with your client?
I am.
Can we bring him back in? All right. That is Mr. Gary, correct?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Stevens, are you ready, Mr. Gary?
Yes.
All right, so we're on the record in docket 23-00712. People of the state of Michigan versus Jerry Gary. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Andrew Stevens. I'm sorry. Good morning, Your Honor. Andrew Stevens on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Your Honor, and good morning. Jared Austin appearing on behalf of Mr. Gary. He appears with us today remotely from the Ingham County Jail.
And sir, you are Jerry Gary?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and you can hear me all right, Mr. Gary?
Yes, I can.
Okay, this is the time set for a probable cause conference. Mr. Stevens, how are we proceeding
I'll
today?
defer to Mr. Austin.
Oh, it's Mr. Stevens. How are we proceeding
I'll
today?
defer to Mr. Austin.
All right,
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we would just ask that the matter continue on for the preliminary hearing next week.
okay, so we'll leave on for the preliminary examination on March 23rd at 8:30. So, Mr. Gary, your preliminary examination is left on for March 23rd at 8:30 next week. If you have any questions, please reach out to your attorney, Brian Austin, and we'll see you, Jared Austin, at Jared Austin. Where did I get Brian from? Jared Austin. And we'll see you here next week on March 23rd. All right, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything else for the record in docket 23-00712, Mr. Stevenson?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Austin?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. That's all for the record in that file.
Thanks.
And then if, Mr. Abbott, if we can wait till we start the prelim to call Miss Buttman,
Okay,
yeah, just can't hurt, you know? I mean, you've got time and we know where you are. I'll take an adjournment, let you guys get all ready for the prelim.
All rise.
Yeah, I got it. Final time.
2202-759. That's people of the state of Michigan versus Morgan Buttman. Morgan Suzanne Buttman. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
Good morning, Your Honor. Andrew Stevens on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. John Abbott with the Public Defender's Office representing Ms. Bolton today. She has failed to appear.
Altman. Okay, this was initially set for 8:30. It is now 9:29. Council's indicated defendants failed to appear for probable cause conference. Mr. Stevens, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, at this point, the people would request the bench warrant, any bond posted be forfeited, please. Thank you.
Any comment, Mr. Abbott?
No, thank you.
All right, the court will issue a bench warrant and bond forfeiture for Ms. Boltman. Anything else on the record, docket 2202-759, Mr. Stevens?
Nothing from the people.
Anything, Mr. Abbott?
Not from the defense. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Waiting. Oh, it's coming.
We have a few minutes.
Sure.
We text exchange with the boss,
Okay.
the boss. So I want to make sure.
2 expert reports without the necessity of producing experts. I believe there's no objection to that this morning. So that would be our first preliminary matter.
All right, so the exhibit 1 and 2 is indicated from the people pursuant to the statute are moved for the admission. Any objection, Mr. Cornish?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, anything, Mr. Barry?
No, Your Honor.
All right. With that understanding, exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted in regards to the 766 statute.
Thank you, Your Honor. And the final preliminary matter is this. This case was charged under the prior prosecutorial administration. And so under the new administration, we do have a policy that we would be seeking to add a charge as to each defendant of felony firearm if this case is bound over. So we're just presenting notice prior to starting the proofs here today that would be our intention to request that at the time of filing.
All right. And Mr. Cornish, do you understand the notice given by the prosecutor concerning the felony firearm addition in their motion for bind over?
Yes, I understand, Your Honor, and I understand the status of the law allowing it.
All right. And Mr. Barry?
Same, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Crino?
Your Honor, thank you. With that, the people are ready to proceed with their proofs.
All right. Any preliminary matters to be brought to the court's attention, Mr. Cornish?
Nothing for the defense, thank you.
All right. Mr. Barry?
Nothing, Your Honor. I asked that the court to adopt the request for the sequestration.
All right. So the court will adopt the sequestration order. I'll leave it to counsel to explain that to the witnesses what that means. I will also, since counsel knows the case better than I know the case concerning witnesses, any witnesses that are brought in or come in during the proceeding, counsel should look back and see that they're not potential witnesses for future events during this trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I guess I should indicate we do have one of our witnesses is our case officer, who was Detective Teresa Moronic, and I neglected to indicate that on the record. So we will sequester witnesses. However, Detective Moronic, who is going to testify, is our case officer and will be present here this morning seated at council table.
Right. My understanding is the crime pursuant to the Crime Victims' Rights Act, the officer can be present as the investigating officer. Is that your understanding, Mr. Cornish?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Barry?
Yes.
All right. So with that understanding, the people may call their first witness.
Your Honor, thank you. The people call Officer Hannah Robeson to the witness stand.
All right, Ms. Robeson, I'm gonna have you stand right in front of me. And I'm gonna have you state your state and spell your first name and your last name for the record.
Sure thing. Officer Hannah Robeson, HANNAH
Can we please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right, please have a seat here, ma'am, and project to the back of the court for recording purposes.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Crino, you may proceed.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. All right, thank you. Good morning. Please state your full name and spell your last name for us.
Officer Hannah Robeson, ROBESON,
Officer Robeson, where are you employed?
City of Lansing Police Department.
In what capacity are you employed with the City of Lansing Police Department?
I'm a road patrol officer.
How long have you been a police officer with the City of Lansing Police Department?
A little over 8 years.
And how long have you been a road patrol officer working with the Lansing Police Department?
On and off for the last 8 years.
Officer Robeson, I want to direct your attention, please, to the date of September 13th of 2022. Can you tell Judge Flores, were you still employed as a Lansing police officer on that day, September 13th of 2022?
Yes, I was.
And were you working on that date?
I was.
What hours were you working?
I work afternoon shift, which is 3 p.m. to 1 a.m.
And was there a particular area of the city that you were patrolling on the afternoon of September 13th, 2022?
Yes, I'm assigned to District 4, which is part of the northwest part of the city.
And were you working alone or with a partner?
Alone.
Were you in full police uniform that afternoon, ma'am?
I was.
And were you working in a marked police vehicle?
Yes, I was.
I want to direct your attention, please, to the date, to the time of 8:17 p.m. Officer Robeson, did there come a time where you were dispatched initially to the location of 146 East Barnes Street within the city of Lansing?
I responded to the 100 block of East Barnes, yes.
All right. Where were you originally dispatched to, if you recall?
I don't recall the initial address because there were multiple calls received at once.
During the course of your travel towards that location, did there come a time where you were directed to a specific location on East Barnes Street?
Yes,
And what is that specific location that you were directed to, please?
133 East Barnes.
And why were you sent to the location of 133 East Barnes on the evening of September 13th of 2022?
I was dispatched there in regards to a shooting.
Officer Robeson, please tell Judge Flores, where is 133 East Barnes geographically located within the city of Lansing?
133 East Barnes is about mid-block on Barnes Avenue on the north side of the road between Washington Avenue and Martin.
And are Washington Avenue and Martin the major cross streets that surround the area of 133 East Barnes Street?
Yes.
Can you tell the court, please, what exact route of travel you took to the location of 133 East Barnes Street that evening?
I drove southbound on Washington until I reached Barnes where I made an eastbound turn.
When you say you made an eastbound turn, would that have been a left-hand turn onto Barnes?
Yes.
All right. All right, Officer Robeson, please tell the court, after turning left or eastbound from Washington onto East Barnes Street, what exactly did you observe as you approached the location of 133 East Barnes?
As I advanced eastbound down Barnes Avenue, I observed a subject laying in the middle of the roadway about halfway down the block and a small group of people standing around that subject.
Now, with respect to the location of 133 East Barnes, where would that have been as you drove down the road, on your right or your left?
133 East Barnes would have been on my left.
And approximately how far from turning on off of Washington onto East Barnes would the male subject or the individual that you saw on the ground have been?
I would estimate maybe 200, 250 yards.
Can you tell the court, please, where exactly was this male subject on the roadway? Was he closer to the curb, in the middle, or somewhere else?
He was in the middle of the roadway.
You indicated to us that you observed a crowd of people. Approximately how many people were in this crowd of people?
It was difficult to see exactly, but I would guess between 3 and 4.
Can you tell the court, please, what was the lighting like as you approached this male subject on the ground and the group of people around him?
The block in general was dark. There were some street lights, but generally the lighting was dark.
And had the sun gone down? Was it evening time in September of 2022?
Yes.
All right. Were you able to determine whether the members of the crowd were male or female?
No, I was not.
Right. As you drove up to this crowd surrounding the male in the middle of the street, what, if anything, did you observe this crowd of people do as you approached that location?
They ran from that location eastbound.
Are you familiar, or did you become familiar during the course of your investigation with the location of 146 East Barnes Street?
Yes.
And where is 146 East Barnes Street in relationship to 133 East Barnes Street?
146 East Barnes is several structures east of 133 and on the south side of the road.
And is it closer to Martin or Washington?
Martin, it's on the corner of Barnes and Martin.
When you observed this crowd of people begin to run as you approached, did they run towards 146 East Barnes or away from 146 East Barnes?
Towards it.
All right. Now, you indicated to us that you were driving a fully marked police vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is your fully marked police vehicle equipped with some sort of camera or recording device?
Yes, it is.
What type of recording device is your vehicle equipped with, please?
There are Axon cameras affixed to the vehicle.
And where are those cameras located?
There's cameras in the front, in the back, and in the back seat of the vehicle.
Do the cameras in the front of that vehicle capture information or footage that would be directly in front of you as you approached?
Yes.
What activates the cameras?
I can activate them manually, or they are activated by the use of my lights and sirens.
In this particular case, was your camera activated as you traveled down East Barnes Street towards the man in the street and the crowd that was surrounding him?
Yes.
And how had your camera been activated that night?
Through the use of my lights and sirens.
And is it your understanding that your camera recorded the footage or what was occurring in front of you as you approached this group on 133 East Barnes?
Yes.
And have you had an opportunity to review your Axon Fleet camera footage prior to today's hearing?
I have.
Right. All right. So I'm going to be getting that put together for you in just a second, and you can play it. We can admit it to evidence, and you can show it to the court. So I want to have you verbally describe, please, what you observed. When you arrived at the location of 133 East Barnes Street, this group of people, where did you park your patrol vehicle?
In the roadway.
Where exactly on the roadway did you park your vehicle?
Immediately to the west of 133 East Barnes.
When you parked your vehicle, was anyone around the male subject now that was lying on the street?
No,
So the crowd had left and he was alone on the street.
correct.
Can you tell the court, please, what address was the victim located in front of exactly as he lay on Barnes Street?
133 East Barnes.
That location of 133 East Barnes Street, tell the court, is that within the city of Lansing in Ingham County, Michigan?
Yes, it is.
Please tell the court what type of structure is located at 133 East Barnes Street?
It's a residential dwelling.
And would you recognize that dwelling if you saw a photograph of it here today?
Yes, I would.
I want to hand you what's been marked into evidence in this case. That's People's Exhibits number 4 and 5. We'll walk around and grab people here. Showing you People's Exhibit number 4 and People's number 5. Can you tell us what's depicted in People's Exhibit number 4 and number 5?
Yes, number 4 and number 5 are photos of 133 East Barnes.
Did those photos fairly and accurately depict what that location of the residence at 133 East Barnes looked like at the time of your arrival on September 13th of 2022?
Yes, they do.
Right, at this time, I'm going to move admission of People's Proposed Exhibits 4 and 5.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Barry?
No, Your Honor.
Without objection, exhibits 4 and 5 are admitted into evidence. You may proceed.
Thank you. All right, Officer Robeson, tell the court, what exactly did you observe when you exited your patrol vehicle now parked in front of 133 East Barnes Street?
I observed the victim lying in the roadway with his feet pointed to the east and his head pointed to the west.
Directing your attention to that adjacent location of 133 East Barnes, what, if anything, did you observe in front of 133 East Barnes?
I noticed at least one person standing outside.
The person that you observed standing outside, where was that person located, please?
I recall him to be near the front porch of the driveway.
Can you give a general description of the person that you observed out in front of 133 East Barnes, please?
Yes, he was an older black man.
With respect to any vehicles in the driveway of 133 East Barnes, what did you observe about the presence of vehicles?
There was a black Dodge Charger in the driveway.
Now, with respect to the male subject that you identified as observing in front of 133 East Barnes, at any point in time during the course of your investigation that night, did you have actual physical contact with that person?
Yes,
Were you able to see that person when you made contact with them?
yes,
Where did you make contact with this individual, please?
in the driveway of 133 East Barnes.
And how long did you have contact with him, please?
It was very brief.
And did you have the opportunity to speak to him during that brief contact?
Yes,
And did you have the opportunity to view him during that brief contact?
yes, I did.
Would you be able to identify that person if you saw him again?
Yes, I would.
And do you recognize, is that person in the courtroom here today? And if so, could you point him out for Judge Flores and identify where he is seating and what he's wearing, please?
Yes, Mr. Thompson is seated next to defense counsel wearing a cream colored polo.
All right, so we have two Mr. Thompsons in this case. Can you identify this Mr. Thompson's first and last name, please?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Grant Thompson.
All right, Your Honor, record should reflect identification of the defendant, Grant Thompson, by Officer Robeson, please.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, without objection, the witnesses identified the defendant, Grant Thompson.
All right, so we're at the point in your story, officer, where you get out of your vehicle, you see a male subject lying in the street, and you've observed the defendant, Grant Thompson. What exactly did the defendant, Grant Thompson, say to you after you exited your patrol vehicle that night?
He said to me something to the effect of, "The kid in the gray has a gun," referring to a person that was running down the street.
And did he direct your attention to any particular geographic location that day?
What, rephrase that, please.
Sure, which way, he said the kid in the gray has a gun, and did he point a particular direction where that person in the gray might be going or might have been going?
I don't remember him pointing specifically, no.
All right, so he indicated to you the kid in the gray has the gun. Is that accurate?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you do to make observations after he made that statement to you?
As Mr. Thompson made that statement to me, I observed a younger male in a gray sweatshirt running eastbound down the sidewalk.
That younger male that you observed running eastbound down the sidewalk, were you able to observe whether he was in fact holding anything as he ran?
I was not.
Did you keep your eyes or vision on that individual as he ran?
Yes,
Can you tell Judge Flores, where did you see him go in terms of his ultimate destination?
he ran into the front door of 146 East Barnes.
That location of 146 East Barnes, is that on the same side of the street as 133, or is it on the opposite side of the street?
The opposite side of the street.
All right. Last question about that. When that male individual in the gray shirt was running towards and then into 146 East Barnes, was that individual with anybody when you first made observations of him?
I don't recall.
All right. Okay, so before we move on, we talked a little bit about the fact that your fleet camera on your vehicle had been activated, was recording, and that you viewed footage from that. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, Your Honor, at this time I'll approach with people's proposed exhibit number 3. And can you identify this as the item that was downloaded from your fleet body camera that you just referenced for Judge Flores?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'm going to move admission of people's proposed exhibit number 3 and ask permission to play it if accepted.
Any objection to people's proposed exhibit 3, Mr. Cornish?
No, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Barry?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Without objection, people's exhibit 3 is admitted into evidence and you may publish.
All right, thank you. We're going to play that right now, Your Honor. All right, people's exhibit 3, Your Honor.
All right, and that's the dash cam video.
Switch this out at all. No, just plug it in.
Yeah, I think if we just plug it in, it should.
Your Honor, point of inquiry. I just want to address a matter real quick. I just noticed, I was not aware that we were live streaming this. I would object to the continued use of live stream, primarily for many reasons. But it's my understanding that there are 2 critical witnesses that were at the scene from this instance that the prosecution has been unable to secure and will not be here today. And so it makes it all the much more important that we cease continuing a live stream for these individuals to potentially observe these proceedings. Understanding the court does have a sequestration order, there's no way for us to assure that those potential witnesses are not viewing this.
Right, and I'll take a response to that. The court generally live stream anything live because it's an open courtroom, so it's open to the public. But I'll leave it in the people's response concerning any sequestration order. Any sequestration order concerning this, Mr. Crino.
All right, I really don't have- Hold on just a second. All right.
He's playing it, I'm not doing it.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people don't really have a position on it. There are lots of witnesses in this case, not just 2 that we have been unable to produce, which is accurate. We have been unable to produce 2 raised just eyewitnesses for this hearing today. However, there are lots and lots of witnesses in this case. So it's a public forum. The people really don't have a position, and we'll leave it in the court's discretion as to whether you think it should be continued to be live streamed or not.
All right, Mr. Cornish.
Just very briefly, Your Honor, I understand and I actually quite appreciate the court's live streaming of these on most of the time because part of my job, as you are aware, is supervising. And I can just log in and watch your YouTube channel. That having been said, not only would I request you to take it down now, I would request you not to post this after the hearing either.
All right.
The courtroom is open to the public. Public is allowed in here if they're not a witness in the case. And I think the sequestration order could be done that way. It's the lay witnesses I think we're mostly concerned about viewing the testimony of the officers.
Right.
They all have access to the reports.
This obviously this is open to the public. We have many of the public in the courtroom. We do have 2 witnesses who were made unavailable. If they are critical to the defense case in regards to sequestration, I'll take the live stream